Hello everyone. So in this session, we'll be traveling in many rural areas across different EU countries with a panel of speakers that will share their experiences and projects that would enable us to explore a range of methodologies, strategies, and intervention that help to mitigate and or adapt to climate change in rural areas. And our first speaker is Kieran Harrahill. So if I don't pronounce your surname very well, from the Think Tank for Action and Social Change, and you're based in Ireland. And Kieran, you will present the People's Transition Project, which is a participatory decision-making model that views climate action as an enabler for local development. So Kieran, please welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Julie, and good morning, everyone. My name is Kieran Harrahill, and I work for Tasc, the Think Tank for Action on Social Change. It is a public education charity located in Dublin, Ireland, and our ambition is to convert analysis into action in order to address inequality and sustain democracy. We undertake research across a number of work streams, and as mentioned, a central part of our work on climate justice is the people's transition. Not a day goes by when we don't see in the media or before our very eyes the impact which climate change is having in communities both in Europe but across the world. It is true, however, to say that for many people and for many communities, there are challenges which are more immediate and more direct, whether this be a lack of affordable housing, issues around accessing sustainable and good paying jobs locally, as well as accessing public services. There is the potential that climate change will be seen as something which is distant or something which does not immediately impact upon people's lives. The main idea behind climate justice and the People's Transition Initiative is that for climate action to be fast, it must be fair. For it to be enduring, it must be inclusive. Rather than only seeing climate action as something which comes from government offices, which can make life more difficult for people, such as carbon taxes, reducing access to private transport, and so forth. The ambition behind the People's Transition is to understand what are the immediate challenges and needs facing communities across Ireland, and how can the development of climate solutions help to address these challenges while also creating benefits for the environment. The People's Transition model is one that emphasises community wealth building, community ownership, and community-led local development. It is an approach which values local knowledge, the lived experiences, and the stories of people in rural communities. From our work with communities across Ireland, which I'll speak about in a moment, one thing which is universal is a strong sense of community across Ireland, as well as the ambition of trying to create a better quality of life for people living within communities. The People's Transition was originally developed and applied in 2021 in two very contrasting communities. One was in a community just north of Dublin city centre, while another one was a small village in the northwest of Ireland. Since 2021, we've applied the People's Transition in a range of communities across Ireland. And from that, a number of consistent themes have emerged. This is again just an image of the People's Transition in action with a number of focus groups and a project launch which took place last December. A first consistent theme has been the sense that communities do not have a sense of ownership within local development or a lack of input within decision making. So one example of this is in the town of Enniscorthy, which is a medium-sized town in the southeast of Ireland. From engaging with a wide range of community groups ranging from businesses to members of the Roma community, one thing which emerged was a sense that the town is not represented or their voices are not heard when it comes to the allocation of funding or within decision-making processes. A similar feeling was in place within a project led by Tasc called Border Transition. This took place within 6 communities across the border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Within a community-run survey, 75% said that not having ownership over local development projects was a big challenge for them. An example of this was in the planning of a wind farm, whereby the community felt that they were not in a position where they could have their voices heard around potential risks to the local environment which the location of the wind farm could have. Similarly, within a project focusing on the future of farming in County Roscommon in the west of Ireland, farmers spoke of the lack of support which they received from decision makers. A great example of this came from one farmer who said that when there's a problem, you're penalised, you're left with the problem. Another issue is the lack of community wealth or employment opportunities. Within the North Kerry region, which is located on the banks of the Atlantic Ocean, one community member described how 15 to 20 jobs in this community would be worth 2,000 jobs in Dublin because of the indirect impact that local employment would have. A similar feeling was shown in Enniscorthy. Again, it's a medium-sized town, but over recent decades, it has lost a range of industrial jobs similar to many regions across Europe. And this resulted in the 2016 census, 1 in 3 people in the centre of the town being unemployed. The lack of public transport options was also identified as an issue, impacting the availability of employment and also access to services both within the town, but also outside of Enniscorthy. Again, something which has been very predominant over recent weeks at a European level is future farming. Among farmers, they described issues around input costs, the structure of value chains, as well as the need for off-farm employment to address the insecurity of agriculture. Within the west of Ireland, that is a predominantly sheep and beef sector compared to the more profitable dairy sector within the south of Ireland. So in terms of some of the good news, one of the outcomes from the People's Transition in Enniscorthy was securing funding in partnership with University College Dublin and Trinity College Dublin to co-create shared and sustainable mobility. So that's one example of when communities engage with other organizations, whether it be academia, local government, and so forth, that there can be new opportunities which illustrate how climate action can have benefits for rural communities. One issue that has been identified from the different communities that we've engaged with is around the issue of funding and access to funding. While it's great, as Angela mentioned, the development of the Just Transition Fund, one thing which we found within our work is access to that funding is often dependent on match funding, or that there's a need for upfront capital to be able to access that grants. Again, within Ireland, the Just Transition Fund is predominantly in the Midlands, which has seen a reduction in peat production similar to coal mining, and that it is not possible to access because the people who are most vulnerable will not have the assets required to be able to access that funding. So I think from a policy level, that is something which will definitely need to be addressed at a policy level. Again, it's been great to have the opportunity to speak with you today. As you can see on the map to the right, this is the range of communities that the People's Transition is being applied within Ireland. As I mentioned within this presentation, there are a couple of predominant themes which have emerged in terms of the lack of input in decision-making, the need for local employment opportunities, which replace those jobs which will be replaced because of the transition away from fossil fuels, as well as finally the need for better access to public transport. While academia and organizations like Tasc can undoubtedly play a role in helping to connect communities with the issue of climate action, there is a need for other policy support measures, particularly in the area of investment. So thank you for your time, and our email is here if you have any questions or would like to learn more about the People's Transition. So thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you very much, Kieran, for your very insightful presentation of the People's Transition model that highlights this crucial role of climate justice in supporting the development of rural communities, and the fact that it's very important to engage with communities. Thank you also for showing us the challenges that you have identified and also the solution that can be collaborating with different types of stakeholders, such as academia and public authorities. And this is for the Rural Pact particularly relevant because we are a platform that fosters multi-stakeholder collaboration for rural development. And I'm sure that these remarks can fit some of the discussion that we'll have later on the breakouts. So thank you very much. Now I would like to welcome Thomas Meier. Thomas, who will tell us about his experience of the holistic regeneration of a rural valley in central Germany. So hi, Thomas. I don't see you on screen. Hello. Hi, Thomas. So hello. So Thomas, can you tell us what was the original background and underlying idea of your regional initiative?
Thanks, Julie, for the invitation. I'm an architect, and together with 65 other people, we started Ecovillage 18 years ago in central Germany in an area called Thuringia. You see the place where we live here. We are 65 people, including all generations, and we are part of a wider network of eco-villages which exists worldwide, called the Global Ecovillage Network, with different continental sections to it, about 13,000 projects worldwide connected through this. We share in our community this approach that all these elements of social relations, cultural values, our ecology, our economical system approach to really be regenerative. And we have made our practical experiences in our community with our people, regenerating land, creating jobs for people, creating social bonds among ourselves that are lasting and stable. For instance, here you see some examples of the enterprises that we have brought up together. It ranges from agriculture, beekeeping. We renovate the castle ourselves that we bought. We have jobs in fruit tree pruning. We open up a castle cafe. We have a kindergarten, a catering kitchen, and many other businesses. But we also include the cultural element. We have festivals. We invite youth groups over summer. We invite the public basically each weekend to come join us and visit our cafe. So this was the starting point of our regional change. The next step for us was actually to reach out beyond the premises of our eco-village and connect with people in our area.
Okay, thank you very much. And so what did you manage to achieve so far? And how would you describe the holistic regeneration approach towards tackling climate change?
You see here a map of our valley, which has 8 villages. It's about 2,500 people living in all of these villages together. And it was 6 years ago that we brought many of them together, had workshops, small village conferences, basically trying to find out what we can do together to regenerate our valley in a holistic way. And we started with very simple projects like putting up hitchhikers' benches at the exits of all of our villages. We started a community-supported agriculture, which now grows food for 50 households. We started with village cinema performances that we have regularly in our villages. We regenerate fruit alleys in our valley. We plant new trees. We take care of them over the years. We also started a cultural walk, which highlights interesting stories from the past as well as from the future, and what we can do to be more sustainable and regenerative here. We also created a cooperative. We have a nonprofit association, but we also started a cooperative which bought several farmhouse complexes, and we are turning them now into multi-generational household mixes. Young people move back into our valley. And our biggest project so far has been creating a free school for the children in our valley, who all had to leave the valley in the past years to go to school somewhere else. Now they have a school again. You see it next to the church. There's a roof construction going on right now. I'm taking care of this building site myself. So we have, at this point, after 3 years, 46 children in that school. It will be 10 grades with 65 pupils altogether. So it's quite small in scale, and it could be repeated and done in most rural areas of Germany. We invested our own money into this. We have a non-profit bank in our back. There are parents' contributions, financial contributions, which are based on a solidarity model. We have festivals where we raise money. We raised about 200,000 euros donations for that project. I have a stable team of craftspeople, and happy children. And we also, maybe this is the last example for our achievements, created framework agreement for the people in our valley to invest their insurance money into an ethical fund, and actually our initiative. So that's a win-win situation for all of us. So thanks for the questions about achievements.
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas. And do you see any main challenges for the contribution of rural community-led initiative in the context of societal transformation?
Yes, there are many. I've just chosen a few pictures which represent some of those, and we are all aware of them. I think, yes, we can do a lot ourselves, and I've given you some examples what we do. We can share, we can recreate the commons, we can plant fruit trees, we can build up the fertility of the soil, regenerate water cycles, take better care of our elders. But honestly, I believe that we will not be able to transform our regions, not to speak of the whole world, into a place of peace, solidarity, regeneration, climate justice, if we don't fundamentally change our societal and economical framework in our world today. To reach this, we need completely new structures in this world, I believe. This is a 16-year-old son. When we went on a walk, it was, I think, 2 years ago, we slept underneath the sky together in sleeping bags, and we saw a shooting star, and I asked him, so Adam, what did you wish for on this shooting star? And I expected him to say something like, maybe that this and this girl on my schoolyard will smile at me tomorrow. But in fact, he said, the end of capitalism. So it inspired me to create this model for socio-economic and regenerative change in our valley, which will hopefully help transform things on a more fundamental basis. And you see here numbers. They actually show that we will, with 80 people of our initiative, to donate 5% of our private income to a shared fund. And each year we will donate 4% more of our income. So after 25 years, it will be 100%. And what we do with this fund then is we will use 50% for equalization of our income to not repeat the injustices, income injustices that we have in our world, but to share in solidarity. We will also spend 25% in regional regeneration and subsistency projects through our cooperative. We will basically invest into everything that we need: birth houses, cider factories, sawmills, and all the things we don't have anymore. We will also invest 25% for international solidarity for those people who have much less resources than we do in Germany. So that's the plan. We will start with this next year, and it again could be adopted in each region in Europe or the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Thomas, for your very inspiring speech and for presenting us this wonderful example of a community project that involves various community members that share together the same vision, same willingness to commit to the regeneration of your valley. That implies a new model that is not only on environmental, but it also has consideration on economic and social aspects. And so thank you very much. And I'm sure that also everyone was very happy to travel to your valley through the different pictures that you shared in this presentation. So thank you very much again. And now let's move to mountain areas with the experience of the MountResilience project. So let me welcome Laurent from Euromontana, who will give us an overview of this Horizon project. And then we'll have a concrete example from one of their model region, which is Lapland in Finland. And that would be presented by Lotta Eriksson. But first, Marie, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, You don't have the notes? No, everything is...
No, I don't at least.
Okay, great. So thank you for giving us some time. As Julie said, I work for the European Association of Mountain Areas, which is one of the partners of the MountResilience project. And today I will present the rationale and the upcoming activities of this very recent project, together with another partner, Lotta, from the regional demonstrator in Finland. So first things first, why a project on mountain areas? Well, because they are actually an important type of rural areas which concern a lot of people. As you can see on the map on the right, what are considered as mountains, according to the European Environment Agency, are all the pink areas. And it basically means that every sixth EU citizen lives in such area. Well, the project also revolves around mountains because they are very vulnerable. As you can see, their vulnerability was recognized by many different instances. First in 1992 in the Rio Conference, but also in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, as well as the latest report from the European Environmental Agency that was mentioned a lot earlier this morning, which states that mountains areas have large ecological gradients in short distances, and therefore even a small change in climate have strong effects. And finally, to finish on this introduction, how exactly are mountains vulnerable? I put some figures which I will detail concerning all the different mountain ranges, which can be really considered as sentinels of change. In the Alps, it has been observed that temperatures have increased almost by 2 degrees, which is double the average rate of the northern hemispheres, and that it's predicted that 75% of the glaciers may disappear in the Alps by 2050. In the Pyrenees, it's the same trend, with average temperature recorded over the last 50 years, which have increased by 30% more. The Carpathians are no exception to this, with sometimes temperature climbing to 2.4 higher than normal. And the Arctic will be described in more details by Lotta, but it's warming up to 2 to 4 times faster than the global average. And of course, it's not only about high mountains, but lower mid-hills and floodplains are concerned. This brings me to the MountResilience projects, which aims at tackling those challenges. It started just very recently in September last year, and it aims at supporting mountain areas in Europe to increase their climate change adaptation capacity. It's a research project, a Horizon project, which is related to one of the 5 EU missions, which we heard about this morning, the mission on adaptation to climate change. And Lotta will tell us more about how this was a crucial point in the project in Lapland. And it is a very interesting type of finance, and Lotta will tell us more about this as well. Just to give you an overview, but I won't go in details and you will have access to the slides. It's an ambitious consortium with 47 partners in 13 European countries. It's led by a branch of the University of Milan, which is located in the Italian Alps. And it involves demonstrator and replicator regions. As you can see, there are 6 demonstrators in green and 4 replicators in blue, covering 5 European mountain ranges. And the approach is basically that the project covers a variety of European regions and communities, therefore allowing for place-based approach. And the aim is, in the end, to generate a varied portfolio of heterogeneous climate change adaptation tools, which can be applied to many other areas, and thus maximizing the reapplicability potential of the project and transformative adaptation. Of course, alongside the technical solutions, the project will explore financing mechanisms and policy recommendations to increase the impact of the project. Now I'll go briefly over the different demonstrators, and we will stop on the Finnish example with Lotta. So to start off, there is one demonstrator in Austria, which will work on mountain tourism, which is highly sensitive to climate change because it is very connected to nature in the Tyrol region. The second demonstrator is located in Piemonte in Italy, and the partners will work on the water issue related to irrigation mainly and agriculture, because as you probably know, mountains are water towers for agriculture. Then the demonstrator in Romania will focus on mountain pastoral activities, because the quality of the meadows are affected by climate, and therefore pastoral activities are as well. In Bulgaria, the mountain valley city of Gabrovo is impacted by climate extreme events such as heat wave, floods, etc. And the municipality in this project will work on greening the city and developing an early warning and monitoring system. In Switzerland, in the Canton of Valais, the demonstrator will work on the topic of water also, and they will work on activities dependent on water, such as agriculture, of course, but also electricity and tourism. And to tackle this, they will develop a digital platform for co-creation and decision-making on such important issue as adaptation on water. And lastly, the Finnish territories in the project will focus on adapting crucial economic activities such as reindeer herding, as you can see in the picture, which are highly impacted by climate change. And I will give the floor to Lotta to give us more details on this.
All right, thank you, Mari, and hello to everyone, and greetings from Finland. My name is Lotta Eriksson, and I represent Regional Council of Lapland. First of all, I want to thank Rural Pact for the possibility to present our project, and of course, thank you to my colleague Mari for a good overall presentation of MountResilience project. As Mari also already mentioned, in general here in Finnish Lapland, in MountResilience project, the key objectives is to strengthen the adaptability of the regional nature-based livelihoods and economic structure. And here about the climate impacts, I just go really briefly through them. As you can see from the figure, the Arctic region has warmed from 2 to 4 times faster than the global average. And also the Arctic region will continue to warm significantly faster than the global average. The physical environmental changes caused by climate change poses threats to our livelihoods, particularly, as Mari already mentioned, to reindeer herding, but also to nature-based tourism. The slide can be changed, please. In our project, the pilot areas are municipalities of Enontekiö and Utsjoki, which are highlighted on this map with the dark green color. These two municipalities, they belong to European Alpine area, and therefore they are kind of the only Alpine areas in Finland, and therefore they are the pilot municipalities in our project. The economy in those municipalities, they are primarily based on the traditional nature-based livelihoods, as already mentioned, on reindeer herding and also on tourism. The slide can be changed, please. So here in Lapland, we have 5 project partners in this project. As a regional coordinator, we have, Regional Council of Lapland, which I represent. And as a research institution, we have Natural Research Institution of Finland. And then we have Finnish Lapland Tourism Board, which brings the knowledge from the tourism sector. And then we have 2 partner municipalities, which are Enontekiö and Utsjoki. And our project activities here are to help the pilot areas entrepreneurs to identify the climate risks, anticipate and adapt Also, we develop a model for regional adaptation plan, and which is based on the adaptation plans for municipalities of Enontekiö and Utsjoki. We also develop company-specific adaptation plans and coaching for reindeer herding companies and tourism companies. On top of that, we also develop the use of public participation geographic information system for stakeholder engagement, which is really important part of our project. Next slide, please. So on this slide, I will present how we got involved into this project and how our activities and partnership was built. So as Mari already mentioned about the EU mission for adaptation to climate change, so Regional Council of Lapland, we signed the EU mission for adaptation to climate change during spring 22. And this was really the kickstart for the climate change adaptation work here in our region. And after signing the mission, we were asked if we would be interested to take part into this project. And the discussions in between the two pilot municipalities started really quickly after the proposal. And as the municipalities saw the topic of the project really important, they were interested to join the project. The next step for us was to find the other project partners to fulfill the project requirements. Here, the benefit of being rural region is that we actually know each other in person from different organizations. So it's really easy and efficient to plan projects together because the area, because there are great distances like 450 kilometers in between the project partners. The planning was done basically only online. And to be sure that there is actual need for our project activities, most of the stakeholders were already involved into the project planning. And for example, the contact persons of the regional reindeer herding associations were taking part into the planning. Well, project managers were recruited for the project partners after the funding decisions had been received. And for example, I started in this project only on September 23. The next slide, please. Thank you. So what are the three biggest challenges or questions that we have been facing so far? The first challenge is how can we establish a common language for discussing these topics? Our project is composed of researchers, area development organizations, and associations, which gives sparse view of the topics for our team, but it also creates kind of a challenge to find the common language, how to speak about climate change and about climate change adaptation. In order to tackle this challenge, we collaborate really closely across organizational boundaries. For example, to create the climate change adaptation plans for the enterprises, we have the researchers and the project managers from other partners which have more practical knowledge working really tightly together from the very beginning. To find the common language is not only a challenge within the project partners, but we have been also trying to think carefully how can we make the climate change adaptation information interesting to, for example, for the local people and for the municipalities. And our second challenge is how to manage the very first Horizon project. Since we come from a rural area and we actually know each other from before, it's quite easy to seek help from the local project partners which have more experience, for example, about Horizon funding. We try to share good practices and learn from one another. This creates the continuous capacity building within the project team with the project managers and with the project partners and keeps also the small municipalities on the track. The international collaboration in MountResilience project, it gives us broad view on climate change adaptation in different sectors in water management, agriculture and policy development, just to mention few. The third question and challenge is, will the local communities and the entrepreneurs participate in our activities? Well, the huge benefit in our project is that many crucial stakeholders are already our project partners, and we can very easily reach out to the stakeholders since, well, one of us has been collaborating with them already before, or for example, the municipalities are already our project partners. The challenge in our area is that the villages are really small and they have really few inhabitants living in them. The distances in between the villages are long. To involve the locals, we really try to cooperate a lot with other projects and with projects with similar topics or same target groups. And of course, like most of our events, they have to be hybrid events. So next slide, please. Yeah, you can follow our project in X, either through that QR code or writing MountResilience.eu. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you for the attention, and don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions or collaboration possibilities with our project. Here you can find mine and Marie's and Stefano Sala's contact details. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both of you, Lotta and Marie, for this very comprehensive presentation of your project, which is a very great example on how to support communities located in mountain areas to increase their capacity to adapt to climate change. So thank you very much. Now we are going to Spain, and more specifically to a region that is very close to the heart of my colleague Enrique Nieto, which is Catalonia. And let me welcome Guillem Bagaria.
Hello, Julie. Thank you very
Hi,
much.
Guillem. Thank you very much. So you will tell us about this EcoAdapt 50 project, which is financed by the LIFE program. So my first question to you is, how does the EcoAdapt 50 project aim to engage local stakeholders in the co-creation of strategic actions for climate change adaptation across Catalonia?
Okay. Well, I come from ARCA, that's a regional network of local action groups, and we are involved in this project, like EcoAdapt 50. That's an 8 years project, and the aim of this project is to promote the action and to raise awareness for climate change adaptation in 4 sectors. That's farming, forestry, fishing, and tourism. And it will do it with the involvement of local stakeholders. And we will do, well, we already are doing it since the project already started, and we settled this first living labs around the project areas. There are 19 areas in this project. Some of them are from local action groups. And each of these territory has its own living lab that will meet 2 or 3 times a year, where all these discussions will be set up. And there will also be a joint living lab for all the project area that will meet every 2 years, more or less, and then living labs for the project's sectors. So in all these multiple scale governance will set up the scene to the adaptation, climate change adaptation, more or less the whole Catalonia region. So in these living labs, they participate different kind of actors: public, private, research, and third sector actors that are key stakeholders for this for the target sectors of the project. Sorry. Okay. These living labs are forums for working and participation of these local stakeholders, where they propose and they prioritize and they decide which actions they will implement in their own territories. And the aims of these forums are to follow up the process of adapting to the climate change in their own area, to detect and prioritize what are the main adaptation actions that are strategic for them in their area. And they are also places where an exchange of knowledge and experiences will be done, since all the project is connected, and we will reach and give information and experiences from other areas. This is done by previous vulnerability assessment of each of these territories to climate change. So the actions will be aligned to the priorities of climate change vulnerability in each area. And there will be a local action plan for climate change adaptation that will be set from all the actions that are prioritized in each area. And the local action groups are responsible for the implementation of these climate change adaptation actions with the project funding, but they will also try to find external funding for the actions that could not be implemented within the project.
Okay, thank you very much, Guillem. And yes, can you provide us a brief overview of the objectives and activities planned by the project, and particularly focusing on how it attempts to address the vulnerabilities of agriculture and livestock, forestry, fishing, and tourism to the impacts of climate change?
Yeah, well, the main objective of the project is to promote the transformation of these territories and these economic activities to make them less vulnerable to the climate change impacts. And we will do it by promoting the investment and the implementation of different kind of measures for climate change adaptation, together with the socio-economical actors, the local stakeholders, from the beginning of the project. And this is very important to involve them in designing these actions in their territory from the beginning. And also raising awareness, training, capacity building of these sectors and local administrations on climate change adaptation is very important, since some of them are not aware of the real consequences of climate change yet. And also to embed all these adaptation measures in policies, public and private policies and plans, and to raise funding and green insurances for them. And as for the adaptation actions that have already been proposed, since the project started last year, we started to receive some proposals, but none of them have been implemented yet. But these are some of the proposals we got from local stakeholders. For farming, for example, the promotion of local agricultural varieties that or edible wild plants that are adapted to drought conditions, or services to advise farmers on the best practices for climate change adaptation in specific regions or crops. Also silvopasture or open habitat promotion for fire prevention and biodiversity. And this coupled with the promotion of local added value products from this activity, or the use of biochar to improve agricultural soils, but coupled with some local forest management that would provide the wood for this biochar. For forestry, for example, the construction of woodsheds to promote the forest management in local municipalities, and promoting the local wood use for the community of this town. Also monitoring some watersheds for water balance and ecosystem services, and this could provide information for forest management that could improve these ecosystem services. As for fishing, the diagnosis and advice or certification of water management and water saving in fishing harbors to improve the water use efficiency. And also diversifying some activities like mussel farming in some areas, or the implementation of desalination plants for fishing or recreational ports that could provide water from different sources. As for tourism, we received less proposals yet, but some of them are the promotion of climate forest shelters, some places where shade could provide a better environment for people, but together with the promotion of a route around water mills and some forest management for biodiversity. And also diagnosis and advice on sustainable development goals related to climate change adaptation on some tourist establishments in a specific area. These are some of the proposals, but some of them will be implemented, some of them not. But we will keep getting some more proposals along the project, and so it's a long project. We have still time to make this.
Yes, thank
you very much.
Thank you very much, Guillem. Indeed, it's a quite recent project that, if I understood well, is expected to last 8 years. So it's going to be very long. And we are looking forward to discovering the outcomes of the project. And indeed, I think it's very interesting that the project includes also raising awareness activities, accompanying the climate adaptation actions, by also involving multi-stakeholder approach at local level. So we'll be following very closely the activities and action implemented in your project. Thank you very much. So now we go to Austria, where we will learn about 2 national programs supporting rural regions with their climate change adaptation strategy, which is the case of the CLAR program, and then another national program that focuses on climate mitigation actions, which is the CHEM program. And these will be presented by Michaela Nierdorfer. Thank you, Michaela. And I'll let you tell us about those programs.
Thank you. So hello from Vienna. Today I will give you an overview of 2 different regional programs that we have, the CHEM and the CLAR program, one tackling climate change mitigation and the other climate change adaptation. So we, the Climate and Energy Fund, were founded to help the state of Austria to reach its climate goals. And on the right-hand side, you can see in the colorful boxes our tasks. I will focus a lot on the orange and green boxes today. So among other things, 2 of our goals are to make regions and cities climate neutral and resilient, and to raise awareness, advise, and participate in finance. Yes, so first of all, I will start with the climate mitigation region program. It started already in 2009 and supports regions that have made becoming independent of fossil fuels their prime target. The program focuses on drawing the region's own resources and by meeting energy demand with a smart mix of renewable energy generation, enhanced energy efficiency, and smart controls. So the 2 pillars of climate policy are the mitigation and adaptation, as agreed in the Paris Agreement in 2016. They have to be seen as complementary, so it takes both. So for adaptation, the regional and local structure is even more important because there are different challenges due to different landscapes, hazards, or vulnerabilities that vary. So therefore, the climate change adaptation model region program started in 2016. And the program gives regions the opportunity to prepare for climate change, to minimize the negative consequences through adaptation measures, and to take advantage of the opportunities that arise. We ensure through continuing education that the regions use the existing findings and information from science for their work. So, for example, every CLA region receives a climate fact sheet with information and indicators for the area based on regional climate models, so that you know how the climate is changing in the region and where do you have to start in particular. And we also offer a service and advice center, which is important because in a complex cross-sectional matter, support is needed here. So the two programs are bottom-up programs with a given framework and support, but a region forms itself and consists of several municipalities. So measures are planned and implemented from the region, and 25% of the region's own resources is mandatory. But not only measures are financed from the Climate and Energy Fund, also know-how and support. Here on the card, you can see where CAM and CLA regions already exist in Austria. And the very best thing, of course, is when CAM and CLA regions already overlap, as can be seen here on the stripes. So there are three key success factors of the programs. First of all, at the beginning, each region develops an implementation concept, which includes about 10 measures in climate mitigation and adaptation. And secondly, each region must have a manager who is the driving force on location. And thirdly, each region has to integrate the regional stakeholders and the population into the development process. The managers are the heart of the programs, or you can also say the green bee in the colony. So there's a strong Austria-wide network with regular training meetings, and the managers are in constant contact with experts and scientists. So before I come to the end, here are a few examples of measures from the implementation concepts. Here of the Climate and Energy Model Region Program. For example, a region started a photovoltaic offensive. Another example is the heat transition with a new surface geothermal energy, or a car sharing project in the CAM region. Measures for the climate change adaptation model regions would be safety measures at the retention basin, or a climate fit renovation of the primary school, or an installation of 55 temperature sensors for live heat map. So to summarize, the two programs pursue a bottom-up approach with a given framework and support. And the key factor is a manager on location. And it is also very important that they develop individual concepts for local challenges and integrate all relevant stakeholders and the inhabitants in the region. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, especially to the different projects, please contact us. And here are two mail addresses of the two programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michaela, for presenting those two complementary programs that show good examples of national frameworks that concretely supports rural regions in the operational implementation of climate change adaptation and mitigation. So thank you very much again. And now it's time to welcome the last speaker of this session. I am calling Jorge Blanco, who will present, hi Jorge. So you will present an Interact project that is called Down to Earth, which is a project that forms a European partnership between rural regions in Europe, aiming to build stronger rural communities through international cooperation for sustainable, resilient, and attractive rural areas. And especially, your project aims to tackle depopulation challenges to improve environmental resilience in rural areas. Then my first question to you is, what are the climate change and environmental risks associated with depopulation and an aging population in rural areas?
Okay, thank you very much, Julie. I am sharing my screen.
Yes, we see your screen, but not in a presentation mode.
Okay, let's try again. I got to stop this. It's correct now, or try again?
We saw you clicking, but we still see the first, I mean,
Sorry.
no worries.
In this way, is okay?
Yes, it is.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Julie,
you,
for
Harrahill.
invite, and good morning, everybody. So, about your first question, the decline of farmers in the last years, no, and the agricultural activity in rural European areas in last 50 years has caused a decline in the population and a lack of young farmers, with consequent abandonment of agricultural lands. Recently, we are seeing that this abandonment and aging is having direct consequences to the environmental issues, no? So these rural areas are become less resilient and more susceptible to environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, soil erosion, and degradation of our traditional landscapes, no, in agriculture. And all these problems make our rural areas more exposed to natural disasters, aggravated, all of them by climate change. So we are facing problems at heat waves, drought, soil degradation, and these are cause of other disasters, as especially in the south of Europe, wildfires. No? And in the other side, we are facing problems with floodings and with landslides, for example. So there is a strong connection between abandonment and the strong effects of natural disasters. No? We are looking at that in the project.
Okay, thank you very much. And can you give us a brief overview of your project and its strategies for addressing these issues?
Okay, our objective is to improve different policies in 6 regions. We are working in 6 different countries: Slovenia, Germany, Romania, Greece, Italy, and Spain. And we are identifying and promoting solutions to manage this natural capital for reduce these risks and these impacts in environmental. We would like to move to action too and to promote changes. So we are identifying economic and social opportunities to attract population in the project. How are we going to this objective? We are identifying best practice among different regions and identify the key factors of all these best practice and facilitating to enhance institutional capacities of the partners. No? We are partners in working in different levels. We are in the national, regional, and local level with the municipality, and we have public authorities, and we have in the as partner NGO, and all of them are working with different instruments and different issues, rural development programs, strategic plans, local plans, or meteorological issues. So it's a wide view of the different problems, and we are working in three main topics. From the beginning, in the last year, we tackled about environmental risk related with the population and aging, and we have conclusions now about that. And we are going to work in this year, 2024, identifying the access barriers to young farmers in these rural areas, and how to look for solutions, and how it's possible to make easy for young farmers to develop agricultural activities. And in the next year, we were going to work with identifying policy instruments to foster the role of land managers and farmers fighting against these environmental risks.
Okay, thank you. And can you briefly tell us about the solutions that your project has already identified in the first year of implementation, and the recommendation that it makes, sorry.
Okay, we find 6 recommendations and some tips for the future. First of them is about basic services in rural areas that requires coordinated strategic planning, because not always is given that, and we identify that public participation is more demanded in all these processes, and it's necessary to adapt the service in rural areas to the reality of these areas, no? Because in most of the cases we are working with public policies designed for urban areas, and it's necessary to adapt to the rural areas, no? Second recommendation is necessary to encourage new initiatives linked to primary sector, and it's necessary to be able to managing farmlands and to managing territory. But adding other approaches as renewable energy, efficiency energy, or carbon farming or co-production. Third recommendation is about multifunctionality. This is a key word, but for environmental and economic purposes, and it's necessary to afford this multifunctionality in agriculture, in farming, livestock, forestry, in all of them. And we need to be able to increase the ecosystem services in all these areas. And about that, ecosystem services is necessary to consider in all the decision-making process with a holistic approach, holistic point of view. Fifth, we don't forget the cultural and leisure initiatives, because contribute to strengthen our rural communities. And last one, but not least, training and knowledge transfer is crucial for more efficient public policies, no? If you want new farmers, new entrants, and new people in rural areas, we have to take this in account. And at least look into the future. Another 4 tips. First of one is about technology and the opportunity to develop solutions, for example, with precision farming, facilitating the short supply chains, or new opportunities with carbon farming. Second one is about entrepreneurship and youth. Third one, we have to make stronger links between urban and rural areas, in areas like health and leisure activities, local food, transports, etc. And at least we need to manage the population flows and the integration of migrants, and we have to adapt and provide housing supplies in rural areas, access to lands, and advice and support for new farmers.
Thank you. Thank you, Jorge, for this presentation. And we are very curious to discover the outcomes of this 4-year project, notably through your different thematic and regional reports that you will produce during this project. So once again, I would like to sincerely thank all the speakers for their enriching presentation and valuable contribution to today's webinar. And now I give back the floor to my colleague Pascal